You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Right now at 7, changes are coming for residents in Oklahoma. Our very own Anthony Saviello shares how lifting the grocery tax benefits residents.
Plus, the city of Miami discusses the future of the town's senior center.
And we've got that sunrise in Pittsburgh this morning. We've got a few isolated showers right now, a few more on the way. Look at that forecast, get you out the door coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Elise Snowy.
And I'm Chris Warner, just after 7 o'clock on this finally Friday here in the 4 states. And it's still warm outside, a bit above normal, but it's the last above normal day that we're going to have for a while.
Some relief, and some people in Oklahoma are seeing some relief in their pockets. At least they soon will. People in Oklahoma will save on their grocery bills, something that started yesterday.
KOAM's Anthony Saviello reports on the elimination of the state's grocery tax.
A tax cut in Oklahoma could start making a difference for people in Oklahoma who have struggled to put groceries on the table. Back in February, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt signing the 4.5% tax cut bill on groceries into law that will completely cut taxes off of groceries. That bill now in effect. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average family spent $5,702 on groceries in 2022. Governor Stitt says this bill could save families $60 a month on groceries that would total up to $720 in savings per year. There are exclusions that Oklahomans need to be aware of. For instance, this tax cut does not apply to clothes shopping, alcohol, or pre-made foods such as what you may find at a restaurant or your favorite fast food joint. Despite the exclusions, Oklahomans may start to see more bang for their buck and their fridges filling up.
The bill will also prohibit the raising of grocery tax rates by local governments until July of 2025.
Hey, any little bit that helps, you know. I mean, inflation's already taken a chunk out of things, so reduction of the tax and elimination of the tax should hopefully be beneficial for some folks down there. You know what else is beneficial for folks just about everywhere is rain. Unfortunately, right now, the majority of us are dry. Quick look outside from our camera downtown Pittsburgh. The sun's coming up, just now starting to break over some clouds out to the east there. And as we head over to Joplin, now we've got a good view of the sunrise. Just about 15 minutes ago, because of some of the cloud cover, there really wasn't much to see, but it looks very nice now there at 7th and Range Line. And we'll head down to the MoDOT camera 20th and Range Line. Looking good as well this morning. We had a light shower in Joplin earlier, and again, it looks as though, at least down here, it did rain a little, but up at 7th and Range Line, roads are dry. It was a very small shower. On the Skywatch Storm Tracker, there's really not much out there. We still have to the north now of Burlington, we have some heavier rain up here, so near Osage City and back toward the Emporia area as well. But a lot of this is beginning to fall apart, and that's what we were expecting. Down here on the Missouri side, we had some showers. Most of those have fizzled out. And then as we drag this a little farther to the south, we've got a stray shower that's just to the west of Goodman. And we still have some. The ones in Ottawa County have died out now, so Miami, unfortunately, you're not looking to get much rain right now. And we've still got some of these west of 59 on the western half of Delaware County. That's really about it. So we have the cold front off to our northwest. The activity that formed last night is dying out, but it will open the door for new activity to develop out ahead of that. And that's the expectation as we go through the morning into the afternoon. Some isolated to widely scattered showers and storms. So initially, most of us are going to spend the day dry. It'll be later this afternoon into the evening that we see more scattered storms with greater coverage across the area. And those will continue overnight tonight as well and could bring us some heavy rain. Quick look at temperatures, 72 in Joplin and in Pittsburgh. And around the area, we've got that mixed bag of 70s as we go low to mid 70s. All of us still above normal for now, but this is our last above normal day that we're going to have. We'll have those scattered storms later today. Most of us highs about 90 before the front pushes through. Some of us highs upper 80s out there. We will hold on to rain chances into the weekend, at least part of it, and then the 80s will show up. We'll talk about all that in the full forecast here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. We have some breaking news this morning out of Coffeyville, Kansas. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation has begun their investigation into an officer-involved shooting that happened yesterday afternoon. Coffeyville police began to conduct a traffic stop on a Ford pickup truck driven by 33-year-old Derek J. Trotter of Coffeyville, who was connected to an active investigation. Preliminary information indicates that officers trying to detain Trotter to serve a search warrant for items in his possession. Trotter began to fight back as officers tried to place handcuffs on him. During the fight, officers deployed tasers, but with no effect. One officer pulled their firearm and fired 3 rounds, striking Trotter. Officers then began to render aid, and EMS transported Trotter to the Coffeyville Regional Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. No law enforcement officers were injured in the shooting, and the KBI will conduct a thorough and independent investigation into this officer-involved shooting. Once completed, the findings will be presented to the Montgomery County Attorney for review. This is a breaking news story, and you can watch for updates on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. And to be the first to see breaking news like this and weather and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. The Miami Senior Center officially turned itself over to the city of Miami last night. They made the move due to a lack of funding. The city considered taking legal action to ensure the senior center was transferred in accordance with their bylaws, but decided against doing so. The city discussed taking on various finances like fixing the roof and other things at their discretion.
For the city, we're just going to have to juggle a few things to get the budget squared away for the rest of the year to get it through, and then we'll budget it in just like any other facility going forward.
The city will allow Doc's, the food delivering service, to remain at the senior center and continue serving senior citizens. And those are our top news stories this half hour. Coming up next, Rafi Andonian joins us this morning to share the meaning behind college colors and the origins of mascots. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from Pittsburg State's Carney Smith Stadium ahead of their home opener against Ferris State tomorrow. Welcome back with the excitement of the fall sports season here with football and basketball getting started up. You can celebrate College Colors Day, which is happening today with the colorful stories of the origins of mascots. Here to share more is our favorite college professor, celebrity historian, Rafi Andonian. Welcome to you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Of course, absolutely.
Yes.
I even wore my St. Louis University blue, which is where I got my MBA.
Oh, fantastic.
And that's what this is from.
Yes.
And this is a yellow from Heristo, which is where I teach. You mentioned Professor.
Yes.
So this is Heristo Hornets right here. But of course, how can we not mention our local Pitt State
there we go.
Gorillas?
Which is perfect because today is Paint the Town Red in Pittsburgh. We'll also be live there at the 5 and 6 evening shows as well.
Which is awesome.
Yes.
Now, do you know how they became the Gorillas?
You know what? I don't.
It's about a century ago in the Roaring 20s. And the Roaring 20s makes sense for the story of the Gorillas because of the fact that there were a group of students that were not happy with the school spirit at that time, but they wanted to kind of really hype it up, and so they were gorillas was a slang term at the time for people who were roughnecks, were being really rowdy and crazy, and that's how they succeeded, and that's how the gorillas attached, the Roaring 20s attached to from the 1920s all the way to today for a century. That's right.
Fascinating.
That's right.
Now, where did mascots begin, and how did they get started just in general?
From opera, believe it or not. So kind of the opposite of roughnecks, if you will, right? There's an opera in 1880 known as the La Mascotte in Paris. It's French, and it's a story about a farmer who's having bad luck and whose brother brings him a woman to have good luck as a good luck charm. And that's how the term mascot gets attached to having good luck associated with a person or a figure or something that has some sort of power. Now, it's not the first time you're going to have using people or animals even for good luck, but the term mascot. Now, using things, though, goes back centuries and centuries. You have them in ancient Egypt. You have King Hammurabi who uses them as, for example, dogs in battle as good luck sitting there. Even at the Battle of Gettysburg, there's actually, if you go to Gettysburg Battlefield where I used to work, there's a monument with a dog on there because a dog was the mascot of the unit that was following along the soldiers and was even licking their wounds in some accounts. Eventually was killed in battle. But these are the kinds of uses for mascots in the past. But how about here locally with the Civil War? It ties also to our region. So the Missouri Tigers, for example, are a Civil War term. So Bloody Bill Anderson, guerrilla warfare in Missouri, but there were people who resisted the Home Guard against Bloody Bill Anderson and guerrilla warfare. They were known as the Missouri Tigers. That got attached to the university in 1890, which is about 25 years, a generation or so after the Civil War, commemorating them. So it actually makes sense from that era and sticking to that era. Of course, why were there the Missouri Tigers and why was there guerrilla warfare in the first place? Because there was a border war with Kansas, known still as the border war, Missouri versus Kansas, and you have the Jayhawks on the other side. That's a Civil War term, that's right, from the Bleeding Kansas days when they were protecting, fighting for freedom, holding off forces that were coming in to establish slavery in Kansas, but the Jayhawkers were trying to resist them. Now here's what's interesting though. While Jayhawks are certainly associated with the identity of Kansans and the university, it's not the first time that Jayhawks were used. Jayhawks were used, believe it or not, in the gold rush to California as a group of people, particularly as a band of people that were coming over the Great Plains, and they called themselves the Jayhawkers because they foraged off the countryside, much like the Jayhawk bird, the mythical figure, is supposed to forage off its prey. So it was initially a gold rush term, but became known and of course popularized in Kansas, and hence all of these mascots have specific historical uses. I know we've used them for thousands of years, and yes, we use the opera term, but the gorillas here locally from the Roaring 20s and the Tigers and the Jayhawks have Civil War roots. So there's reasons behind all of these stories and our school spirit.
Yeah, certainly fascinating indeed. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It's about to be 7:17 on this Friday morning. We're going to start with a live look from our camera over downtown Pittsburgh. Got the sun rising out there. Not as many clouds on the Kansas side now. We're starting to see some clearing out there. But if we head across state lines to Missouri, our camera 7th and range line, the clouds giving us a beautiful sunrise. But you can see a bit more cloud cover out there as this continues to shift off to the south and east. And then we've got a clear slot in between those locations across southeast Kansas, because between the clouds in Missouri, we've got the cold front back behind us with more clouds off to the north and west. MoDOT camera 20th and range line looking pretty good. Same from the KDOT camera 69 and Kansas crossing. Roadways are dry, and they will be for at least the time being, but things will begin to change. Right now, the Skywatch storm tracker has pretty well died down. There's really not much going on. Still, there's light showers north of Burlington as they continue to die out. And we head back down to the south. We've got a new little shower now right on the Newton-McDonald County line west of 49, and these decaying showers in the western parts of Delaware County. We had some activity. It really tried to get going just across the whole region, but just nothing really panned out. And here you can see there's that cloud line. Here's that clear slot, and then additional clouds ahead of the dying showers out to our west. Now, even though they are dying, as the front rolls through, it will trigger some additional initially isolated to widely scattered showers and storms through the morning and into the early afternoon. So the majority of us, believe it or not, will still be dry, but we'll have a few isolated showers and storms out there. And once we hit about 3 o'clock, and get a little more heating in place. That's going to allow for some additional scattered thunderstorms. The difference between isolated and scattered is what you just saw on Future Track, where there are little showers here and there. This is scattered. They're more numerous, but they're not everywhere all at once. And they're going to stick with us through the rest of the afternoon, evening, overnight, and into part of our Saturday as well. And overnight tonight, some of these showers and storms could produce some heavy rain, and we need that rain. It's just unfortunate that it's not going to be everywhere, because we really need rain across the region. By Saturday morning, morning, we're back to isolated showers and storms, and it'll be that way through most of the day. And then by Saturday afternoon, early evening, we could see a few additional thunderstorms, but the better chances are going to be on the Missouri and Arkansas side. They'll be brief, but there will be some out there. Otherwise, we're going to stay dry for our Saturday. That sunrise does look great there. 72 in Joplin. Temperatures have come down a bit because the front itself is now passing through. And that's the other way you can tell. Take a look at the wind. Earlier this morning it was south. Now it's out of the northwest. So here's that frontal boundary, and you can see along it, it makes this brief cool down. But behind it and ahead of it, it's not that big of a difference. Of course, ahead of it, you're still going to be warmer. Behind it, low 70s. We're not plummeting by any means behind this front. As we go through the morning, again, isolated showers and storms out there. Most of us dry, low 80s by 11 o'clock. Our highs today, most of us, about 90 degrees. However, those who are further behind the cold front already across southeast Kansas, you may peak out mid, maybe upper 80s, but the majority of us will at least hit early highs of 90, temperatures gradually falling, eventually into the upper 60s tonight, and then 80s for highs for everybody kick in by Saturday. Low mid 80s on Saturday, upper 80s on Sunday, maybe an isolated pop-up shower or storm. Labor Day itself looks pretty good, mid 80s, partly cloudy skies, some drier air out there, and then we'll be a mix of low, mid, and even some upper 80s as we head into the next work week with some additional scattered shower and thunderstorm chances. That's a check of your forecast. We are back with more right after this.
Welcome back. The 62nd annual Labor Day Classic at MoKan Dragway is waiting for the green light for this weekend's races. Now we have driver Michael Neal with us this morning to share what fans can expect when they attend. Welcome to you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, happy to have you. So talk to me about this weekend's festivities at MoKan and what the Labor Day Classic is and what people can enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. MoKan Dragway, legendary place, been open since 1962. The Labor Day Classic is something that's been going on at MoKan Dragway for a long time, but it now involves Funny Car Chaos.
Okay.
Funny Car Chaos is a touring series. We run all across the country. We've got nearly 40 funny cars running this weekend. We have 50 gassers running. We have jet cars. It's going to be an electric, amazing show.
Yes, absolutely. It sounds awesome. Now, this begins today at 5 p.m., but you're going to be having some events for today and tomorrow as well.
Absolutely. So qualifying tonight, Pro Show starts at 7 o'clock with funny cars, gassers, jet cars. Pro Show starts tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
So it's going to be a jam-packed weekend full of everything you can imagine when it comes to race cars. So it's an electric atmosphere at MoKan. MoKan's really a special place. We got racers from all across the country coming to this event, and we all love coming to MoKan just because, like I said, it's an electric place. Kids 12 and under get in free. So when kids go back to school after a holiday weekend, you're going to want to tell your friends you were at the chaos. So make sure to tell your parents, bring your kids 12 and under free. Every ticket's a pit pass. So you can come right up to all the cars, come to the drivers. We'll sign whatever you got. We got hero cards, so you can go home with a bag full of goodies. We got Chaos Kids program where your kids can come by, get coloring books, get all kinds of free stuff. So it's a blast for the kids. We try to involve the whole family. So bring the entire family out, and I guarantee you it'll be something you'll remember for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Now, you're a seasoned driver yourself there. Talk to me about what your favorite part is about taking part in the Labor Day Classic and what you look forward to every year.
Yeah, so like I said, we love coming to MoKan. The fans are just unmatched when it comes to the atmosphere. So as far as racing, I've been racing nearly my whole life since I was 14. I just love the energy of it, the adrenaline, the thrash. You know, a lot of times with these cars, there is parts breakage and there's thrash between rounds, and the fans can be part of that. They can be right up on the cars while we're thrashing, trying to get them back together. So that's part of the excitement of the event is everything is kind of crazy, and we like it that way.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like something you definitely don't want to miss. Thank you so much, Michael, for being with us this morning. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit their website and give them a call. All of that is located at the bottom of your screen right there. Stick around. We're back with more right after this.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:28. I'm Elise Noe. The Granby, Missouri Police Department will soon have some new bulletproof vests. It's thanks to a $2,300 check from Hero Fund USA. It's an organization that raises money to help first responders buy life-saving equipment. Granby PD officials say the vest will allow their officers to better serve the community, knowing they are better protected themselves.
They have helped us fund for ballistic vests, for all my officers, which is a must in law enforcement this day and age. So it's helped us pay for our vests, which is greatly appreciated.
Hero Fund USA is based out of Blue Springs, Missouri. Well, a medical clinic in Joplin has some advice for area students. Choices Medical Services says young people between the ages of 15 and 24 make up 50% of the nation's sexually transmitted infection cases. The doctor of nursing at the clinic says the numbers the clinic has seen actually trends higher.
What we have seen in our clinics, though, with syphilis is that for 2 years in a row now, we've seen a sharp increase of the syphilis cases that we have seen. And for the first time ever in our clinic's history in 2023, and we're on track for 2024, we're actually going to have higher numbers of syphilis positive cases than gonorrhea.
Choice Medical Services recommends people who are sexually active to get tested once a year. Now let's check in with Chris for a look at the forecast.
Now we've got a few isolated showers, really not much happening right now, but that will change. Quick look outside from our camera downtown Pittsburgh, and we've got clearing skies in Pittsburgh. The cold front has now pushed through. Off to our east, though, from our camera at 7th and Range Line in Joplin, still some clouds as the front continues to roll through. And it's brought in slightly cooler temperatures, but believe it or not, we're still above normal. A little bit darker looking from the MoDOT camera 20th and Range Line, but as the sun rises and this first batch of clouds rolls out, we get a little sunshine out there. Skywatch Storm Tracker relatively deserted at this point. Not much to show. Again, we had those showers near Burlington continuing to lift off to the north and to the east, and the cold front itself will eventually drag all of this stuff off to the east-southeast. Had a few showers around the Joplin area earlier, not much going on. We've got a little shower now southwest of Neosho. That's really about it. We will eventually see new development take place as this boundary rolls on through. So this initial batch is dying, just like the model data yesterday began to suggest it would, but it will open the door for new development to take place across the area later this morning. So through the morning, isolated showers and storms, very isolated initially, and that'll be the case into the early afternoon. By about 3 or so, we start to see some additional scattered thunderstorms. So again, not everybody getting rain, but more of us getting rain as we head later into the afternoon and evening. 72 in Joplin, 73 in Pittsburgh, behind the front now. That frontal boundary is right about here at this point. So ahead of it, still a little warmer, but beginning to cool back. Low to mid 70s. Behind the front, low 70s. But again, we're all still above where we should be because our overnight lows should be in the upper 60s. Most of us highs of about 90, but the further west you are, you may make about the mid to upper 80s because you'll be behind the front long enough that you won't really warm up that much. But we'll hit our high also a little earlier, and temperatures begin falling slowly as we head through the rest of the evening. We have a few more scattered storm chances on our Saturday. We'll go over the details on that and how Labor Day is looking here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, an Oklahoma Wildlife Park is working to reopen in just 2 weeks after receiving thousands of dollars in storm damage. And the park director says they are working to rebuild better than ever thanks to the community's help. KOAM's Samantha Walker has more.
This is just a bit of what the Creation Safari Wildlife Park saw when strong winds and severe storms swept through Ottawa County in mid-August. The storms caused severe damage to the park, such as destroying bird enclosures.
The majority of them was like complete destruction. They were just gone, laying out in the fields, to the east. And so, remarkably, the animals were all okay. No animals got hurt, but we're very, very fortunate that we didn't have animals injured and more damage to the park.
Tim Sappington, the park's owner and director, estimates the park received roughly $50,000 in damage from the storms.
Within an hour, people started messaging us and asking, how can we give to this? What do you guys need?
People from all across the community are coming together to help the wildlife park reach their goal of rebuilding bigger and better.
We had a really remarkable thing happen in a few days to follow. IS Customs, a construction company, has offered to bring their guys and rebuild our bird enclosures. And Wyandotte Nation has funded all of the materials for the bird enclosures.
Thanks to this community support, they're now able to open up right before their busiest weekend of the year.
We've come to expect that we live in a great community, and people reach out to help. You know, we try to reach out and help others, and others have reached out to help us. So we have an amazing community here.
Reporting in Wyandotte, Samantha Wonker, KOAM News.
The Creation Safari Wildlife Park will open today for the first time since the storms. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Shannon Becker joins us this morning with his big 3 news stories of the week. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from Carney Smith Stadium ahead of Pitt State's season opener tomorrow. Well, welcome back. We've got Shannon Becker in the studio with his big 3 news stories of the week. Good morning to you, Shannon.
Good morning, Elise. How are you?
Doing well. How are you about yourself?
Ready for Friday Night Lights,
yes.
You know. All right, number 3 this week, let's take a look at the big 3 stories, what's happening where you live. Had a pop-up storm kind of the other day, Wednesday. I don't know if you got the rain at your house.
Yes.
You're probably taking your afternoon nap about that time. It was 5:20 when the storm hit east of Dunawig. It was a little town called Scotland. It totally ripped all the sheet metal off of that building there. You could see it scattered throughout this field at a trucking company. It's near I-44 and the exit 15 that takes you near the Terra Motel. We saw Liberty crews. They were there restoring power to the 50 residents in that immediate area there. Scotland's a little town. It's been around maybe 100 years or so,
Okay,
you know,
yes.
but it's not really, you know,
Yeah, quite a bit of damage there.
booming.
You know.
Yeah, even knocked over some semi-tractor or semi-trailer boxes and stuff. Our number 2 story, KOAM News Now. Food truck on fire. Wow. Yeah. That happened at Carthage this last week. You could see as that propane tank exploded. 2 different propane tanks exploded. It was a faulty generator that was placed at perhaps a wrong location. It caught fire in the back of that pickup truck, and then it was kind of windy and it spread throughout the food trailer. No one was injured. They do have a fundraiser that they're trying to raise some money for right now. A fatal crash on I-44, something you experienced, all of us did, as it was happening the other morning, a traffic jam. And a man died. They still have not released his name, but family have been notified. They just have to wait for sometimes some official information through autopsy, etc. But you can see how the truck was totally destroyed. It's about 200 feet off the road there. That's the front axle of the truck.
I don't think I've ever seen that sign leaning like that
before.
No,
not at all. And in fact, they actually took the sign down. It was later in the day. They opened up the traffic after about 7 hours of having the traffic delay. But this is when they took that sign down. They couldn't figure it out, so they just finally yanked it down. And then watch this. So it just drives off like super fast out of the distance. I was like, oh, where are they going with that thing?
Efficient, gets it done, you know?
I did, yeah. Get her done. And then our bonus story of the week, we just found out the Spirit Halloween store is opening. There were rumors it wasn't going to open this year, but then all of a sudden, boop, here it is.
They tend to do that.
Yeah. Exactly. My friend Sheila Brown and her granddaughters, they checked it out yesterday. Then we checked it out last night. The hours are on our website. You can check them out in our full article. You big Halloween fan?
You know, I'll always dress up. I'll always take part in it. But, you know, Spirit Halloweens are always fun to go into and just see what they've got going on.
So I also compiled our own list of the top 20 this year Halloween costumes.
Ooh, and good ones.
Now my number 2, the Olympic breakdance lady. That'll be a good one. That'll be good, right? Won't it be good?
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. You see people breakdancing on the street there.
That'll be great. You don't have to be good. You know,
you don't.
Everybody's an Olympian. Everybody's an Olympian.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Shannon, so much for being with us. Big 3 news stories of the week. Stick around. We're back with more right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 7:42 now on this finally Friday. Here in the 4 states, we're starting a live look from our camera downtown Pittsburgh. Looking pretty good so far. Skies have cleared over Pittsburgh as the front pushed through. It's pushing clouds along with it. Still some of those as they gradually clear from over the Joplin area. Our camera at 7th and Rangeline kind of blocking that sunrise again, so it's made it a little bit darker in the city. As you can see from the MoDOT camera at 20th and Rangeline, however, as we just showed you to your west, up in Pittsburgh, skies are clear, but not at the KDOT camera, Kansas Crossing. Not seeing as much sunshine. See a little bit trying to get through way back up there, but not that much yet. So here's a look at Skywatch Storm Tracker, and it is unimpressive at best at this point. There is really not much left anywhere in our immediate area at this time. Starting in southeast Kansas, we'll head down into Oklahoma. We got a little shower now south of Adair. and one in the far southwestern corners of Delaware County. We had this little guy flare up west of Goodman, now to the southwest of Neosho, but not much really happening with him either, and a couple of probably not even reaching the ground showers in southern Delaware County. So here's what we've got. The front itself pushing through. There's that cloud line from the front pushing through. There's the outflow that tried to trigger shower storms here, there, everywhere, but failed to do so. What's going to benefit us is this decaying batch of showers and storms off to our northwest that will eventually allow more isolated, and they will be very isolated initially, showers and storms to develop through the morning and into the early afternoon. So here's the future track. These are very isolated. You can see how many large gaps there are between the potential showers. However, those gaps begin to close once we move a little later into the afternoon. So late afternoon into the evening, they'll still be scattered. There are still gaps, but not nearly as many and not nearly as big, as we'll see additional thunderstorm development later today once we warm up a bit. And these will stick with us through the overnight hours as well. Could bring us even some heavy rain. We go into Saturday. It's going to be another isolated shower day, and then we could see a few thunderstorms flare up in the Missouri and Arkansas side as we go later into the afternoon, early evening. So out west, you're expecting to dry out. But the good news is our temperatures are going to fall back. We all need the rain, and that's the unfortunate thing, is this system not really bringing enough rain with it, but at least it will cool us down a little. 72 in Joplin, northwest breeze now at 7 miles an hour. So here's that northerly wind. Here's that boundary where that front is as it slowly sinks off to the south and east. We've still got low to mid 70s across the region. All of us still above normal, and that's what our official lows will be, is above normal. Again, isolated storms through the morning. A lot of us will remain dry, but those chances are still there. And take a look at that, though. Low 80s by 11 o'clock. As we head into the afternoon, that's where it gets a little complicated as we get into that season of cold fronts. We're looking at most of us reaching a high of about 90 degrees by this afternoon, but it'll also hit that high early and temperatures will begin to fall. Some of you, the further west you are, may make about the mid to upper 80s because you're far enough behind the front, but you're not really going to warm up as much as your friends down to the south and east. So 90 is going to be an average, but not everybody will make it that warm. Temperatures will continue to gradually fall through the evening. Scattered storms, 70 by 10. They come down a little bit more into the upper 60s overnight. Tomorrow, though, is when we officially see highs for everyone into the 80s, low to mid 80s, in fact. Mid and upper 80s on Sunday. It's going to be a bit bouncy on these 80-degree temperatures over the next few days. Labor Day looks great, mid 80s and partly cloudy. We'll have low, mid, and upper 80s, hence the bouncy little thing I did with my hand to show you that it's a bit of a bumpy ride with the 80s. But regardless, we're at or below normal as we head into the next week and next weekend, with some additional scattered storm chances in the second half of next week. That is a check of your forecast. We're going to toss it over to Elise now with Consumer Watch.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, the Department of Transportation says the year-to-date flight cancellation rate for 2024 is 1.6%. This good news comes as travelers are heading into the Labor Day holiday weekend. To put it in perspective, the year-to-date flight cancellation rate for this year so far is below pre-pandemic levels. The DOT also saying summer 2024 saw the highest air travel volumes on record in the United States, and air travel averaged 2.7 million people a day. Well, the FDA is getting a higher proof of age if you still want to smoke tobacco products. The traditional tobacco and e-cigarette or vape product users under 30 will have to show photo ID age verification. The higher age proof and access limits will go into effect September 30th. The FDA says making tobacco products less accessible to young people is critical in reducing the numbers of people who eventually become addicted to tobacco or vape products. And those are our top consumer stories. We'll be right back. Well, some parents can get pretty creative pretty quickly when their children are afraid of something and need to be reassured.
One North Dakota dad did just that when his young son had to go to the hospital for an emergency surgery.
When Jonathan O'Connick visits the Bismarck Library with his children, he works on projects that are a little different from what he'd normally do as an attorney. He writes children's books.
I never thought I'd write children's books, but basically my kids inspired me to try to share experiences that I had with them, to try to help others, and also to create a memory and a time capsule for them.
Doctors diagnosed Seamus with Hirschsprung's disease, a rare condition where intestinal nerves don't develop properly. It required full removal of Seamus's large intestine.
And each of those doors will tell Seamus experience that he will see at the hospital.
Jonathan wrote his first children's book, Seamus in the Horizontal Hospital, while his son was in intensive care.
I was sitting next to him, next to his crib where they have him in kind of that elevated crib with, you can kind of see through, and I just started to write. And I started to write about the feelings I had, the emotions of having a child in the hospital.
Jonathan's story features an older Seamus. He's nervous about visiting the hospital, but Jonathan's character reassures him there's nothing to be afraid of.
And he says, you're going to be going not just to a normal hospital, but to a magical hospital.
He says he wanted to make sure Seamus wouldn't see the hospital as a scary place. That's why each of the Horizontal Hospital's doors leads to something new and magical.
But after listening to his daddy's story, he knows he will be all right.
The story ends with Seamus feeling good about the experience. They make sure to read it before any hospital appointments. But it's not the only book Jonathan has written. He wrote a book for Seamus's older sister.
We'd have tea parties and
another one featuring all three of them together.
We are all a community, and the more that we can help each other, the better the world is.
Jonathan says he hopes his books can help other children with difficult health conditions and their families.
You can buy Jonathan Okonek's books through Amazon Books A Million or his website.
Certainly it's something important. You know, a hospital can be, even just a doctor's visit can be a scary time for kids. So any way to help reassure them that's going to be all right.
Absolutely.
Got to go that route. Well, we're going to start with the Skywatch Storm Tracker, and we're going to start with the fact that there's pretty much nothing in our immediate area on it. We've had some isolated showers, even a couple of rumbles of thunder try to get going out there as the front passed through, but not much really managed to flare up. We have this dying line now of showers out to our northwest. So the good news, though, with that dying, and we have this clear slot here where the sun's coming out, it will allow some of us to warm up a bit, and that'll give us an opportunity for some additional redevelopment of isolated showers and storms through the morning and into the early afternoon. So on the future track, you can see they are extraordinarily isolated to start with, but as we head later into the day, get a little warmer for some of us, we're going to see a few more of these scattered storms across the area. So still not rain everywhere, but more rain than what we'll see as we head through the morning and early afternoon. Some of this will stick with us overnight tonight, bring us some heavy rain with some of the thunderstorms as well. And some good news is we're not expecting any severe weather with this activity. Maybe a strong storm, but nothing too crazy. Saturday, again, initially very isolated, and then by the afternoon, maybe a few more scattered storms, mainly into Missouri and Arkansas. We're going to have another look at your forecast, talk about that cool down and Labor Day, as well as the news you need to know when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation is investigating an officer-involved shooting that happened yesterday afternoon. Coffeyville police were attempting to serve a search warrant on 33-year-old Derek J. Trotter of Coffeyville. Trotter began to resist and fought officers as they tried to detain him. Trotter was tased by officers before being shot 3 times. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. No law enforcement officers were injured in the shooting, and the KBI will investigate this officer-involved shooting and submit their findings, and they will be presented to the Montgomery County Attorney for review. Well, the city of Miami has officially taken over the Miami Senior Center. The center says the move was necessary due to the funding. The city discussed taking on various finances like fixing the roof and other things at their discretion. The city will allow Docs, the food delivery service, to remain at the senior center and continue serving senior citizens. And people in Oklahoma will start saving on their grocery bills. Oklahoma has eliminated the 4.5% state tax on groceries. The bill was signed into law by Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt back in February. Now, Stitt says the tax cut could save Oklahoma families about $720 per year. However, there are exclusions to the tax cut, including alcohol and prepared food.
And we're going to have some of us reach about 90 degrees, others, especially further west, that are going to be behind the front longer, may make about the mid-upper 80s out there. We'll have initially isolated storms for the first portion of this day, and then we'll go to scattered storms by the afternoon and evening hours. And some of the storms overnight could bring us some heavy rainfall. Temperatures gradually falling, and we'll make it back into the upper 60s for our overnight lows. A few isolated to widely scattered storms on Saturday, maybe a pop-up shower or storm on Sunday, but the 80s arrive tomorrow, and the 80s are where we're going to stay for the next several days, with a few more thunderstorm chances in the second half of next week.
Alrighty. Well, Thursday is the second day of the Spirit of Boise, a 5-day hot air balloon festival held annually over Labor Day weekend. The Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic is held at Ann Morrison Park in Boise, Idaho, featuring dozens of unique hot air balloons over the course of the event.
Yesterday's launch filled the clear blue skies with colorful images, including Smokey the Bear and it's Smokey Bear. We learned this. We learned this in a story. Smokey Bear and a dinosaur bursting out of an egg. I do not see Smokey Bear, nor do I see a dinosaur bursting out of an egg.
Only you can prevent hot air balloon fires, Chris.
Well, make sure your hot air balloon launch is conducted safely. Oh boy, it's Friday, in case you couldn't tell. Thank you all so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather today at noon.
Have a great rest of your morning.